Since it's 11 o'clock, why don't we go ahead and get started? Thank you for joining our virtual public information meeting about the renewal of the roads and non-motorized countywide millage. This meeting is co-hosted by the Washtenaw County Road Commission and the Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission. For your information, the meeting audio and video is being recorded and will be posted to wcroads.org in the next day or two. After our presentation, if you have any questions, you will be asked to virtually raise your hand during the question and answer period. We will provide instruction at that time on how to do this from either your computer, the Zoom app, or your touch-tone phone. The chat feature for this meeting is turned on. If you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to ask it in chat and we will address it during the Q&A period. You can find the chat window at the bottom of your screen. For today's presentation, we have a brief agenda. We'll start with a welcome. We'll give you some background information on the existing millage. We'll talk about the proposed renewal, and then we'll certainly answer any questions that you may have. Today's speakers, my name is Cheryl Soderholm-Siddle. I am the Managing Director of the Washtenaw County Road Commission. Today is Coy Vaughn, Director of Washtenaw County Parks. We'll start by giving you a little bit of background on sort of how we landed to where we are today. And our story starts back in 2014. At that point in time, we had over 200 miles of county primary road that were rated in poor or failing condition. That was a reflection of decades of underinvestment at both the national and state levels in our transportation systems. And certainly at that time, our residents wanted better roads and pathways. So as we started looking at options for funding, one of the challenges for road commissions is that we do not have any taxing authority. So we reached out to the County Board of Commissioners, and utilizing Public Act 283, we were able to work with them for two continuous years, 2015 and 2016, where the county board imposed each year a 1 year, it was a 1/2 mil levy, and each year that generated roughly $7.3 million in funds for transportation improvements. As a result, over that 2-year period, we were able to improve 117 road projects and over 160 miles of roadway. And here's a nice example, Parker Road, which runs between Lima and Scioto Townships. That's a good example of the type of roadway that we were looking at and what we were able to accomplish under Public Act 283. And while that was certainly successful for each of those 2 years, in working with the county board and certainly through the roads funding subcommittee, which the county board did establish, we decided that we thought we could do something a little bit better. What we were hoping for was something that would be a little bit longer term, that would allow for some ability to do some planning. So we started examining a 4-year plan that allowed, since the intent with the millage was we've been trying to give back to each community basically the amount that's been raised in each community. And so by having a longer term time period for our smaller communities, it allows us to sort of collect the money and demonstrate that at some point over that 4-year time, they will get those funds back, but that they can have a more substantial project. It also allows for many of us who are trying to potentially partner some of the millage money with other funding sources, the ability to do that planning if we're looking at a little bit longer term instead of the year-to-year that we were under Public Act 283. So what we looked at was a 4-year plan, staying with the 1/2 mil levy. For the county board, they felt that it was important that 20% of those projects be non-motorized. So that was the plan that was put forth. It was a very specific plan that was developed over that 4-year period because we wanted to be able to show to the voters at that point in time exactly what it was that they would be voting for, so that there would be accountability on behalf of those that would be receiving the road millage funds. And so in November 2016, we were very pleased to see that 71% of the voters approved the plan And as you can see from this map, 137 out of 141 precincts voted yes. So that was outstanding. So what did does that millage look like? Excuse me. So again, the 1/2 mil each year, that generates roughly $7.3 million. Of that, the Washtenaw County Road Commission receives approximately $3.3 million on behalf of the townships. The cities and villages collectively receive about $2.5 million, and that's distributed back to them in the manner in which it's received. And for the non-motorized component, the Washtenaw County Parks Commission does receive approximately $1.5 million each year. So 2020 is the 4th year of the millage. So far, for the first 3 years, on the county side, we've been able to complete over 110 road projects, 170 miles of roadway being improved. And working with county parks, we've been able to complete 14 non-motorized projects. And as you can see, one of the things that we do measure is our pavement condition over time. So we've been trending in the right direction with respect to our good pavements, narrowing down the number of fair pavements. Hopefully those have been moving up into the good category, and seeing a decrease in the poor pavements on our primary road system. So we do believe that the decisions that have been made have been effective, and we're trending definitely in the right direction. A little bit more on the show and tell side of things. Here's a nice example of Saline-Milan Road, which is down in York Township, a roadway that we are able to do a crush and shape and then repave the roadway, which is a definite improvement there. Similarly, in Superior Township, we were able to improve MacArthur Boulevard. As you can see, again, rehabilitate the pavement that was there, potentially add a little bit of curb and gutter. And on the county system, at this point in time, still roughly half of our system is gravel. So doing gravel resurfacing is equally important to us. And so here's a nice example of Lima Center Road, which is in Lima and Dexter. At this point, I'd like to hand it over to Coy, and he can share some of what they've been able to accomplish through county parks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Again, this is Coy Vaughn, Director of Washtenaw County Parks. Trails are extremely popular to the residents of Washtenaw County. We do at County Parks a survey of the entire county every 5 years to make sure we're providing the recreational amenities that the residents of the county expect. And once again, same with every survey we've done in the last 20 years, trails are far and away the #1 requested amenity in the county. And they're not just used for recreational purposes. We get a lot of people using them for transportation, for commuting to school and work. This particular image here, this is a segment that we just completed just north of Chelsea that will eventually connect up to Stockbridge. We built 5 miles of trail from Chelsea all the way to North Territorial Road, including a brand new tunnel that goes under M52. And this one's significant because it connects over 32,000 acres of state land in the Waterloo and Pinckney rec areas to the population center of Chelsea, which is the biggest contiguous block of public land in the Lower Peninsula. Next slide, please. Another recent project, this is one of 2 bridges that we built crossing the Huron River. We're constructing a segment of the Border Trail from Dexter all the way connecting to the city of Ann Arbor. It connects 3 metro parks. And right now, with this most recent extension, the trail is complete from Dexter all the way to Zeeb Road. The next segment will push this further east to Delhi Metro Park. Next slide, please. So when I talk about the Border Trail, this map here shows a depiction of the location of the trail. We consider the Border Trail the spine of the non-motorized network in the county. It connects over 80% of the county's population in the northern tier along the Huron River through Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Dexter, and Chelsea, and then the connection again up to the Lakeland Trail provides a 44-mile loop in the northwest part of the county. So the trail itself is in various stages of completion. We're making a lot of progress, and the idea here is to have a trail that serves, again, as the backbone of the network, and it is open to all ability levels. It's a 10-foot wide asphalt trail that's completely separate from the road system, and it connects the population center with all the wonderful parks that we have here in the county. Next slide.
Thank you, Coy. So as you can see, we've been able to accomplish a lot of really good things with the existing millage. So, and we are in year 4 of in the final year of the existing millage. So the first thing we did was ask ourselves, you know, are we done, or is there still a need for the funding that we've been receiving under the 2015, the Michigan legislature did approve a transportation funding package, which did increase the transportation funding to most agencies. But as we took a look to see where we were at, we look at the road system on the county paved system, and to bring our entire system today up to good condition still carries a price tag of in excess of $52 million. So those decades of underfunding dug ourselves a pretty big hole that we could see, and we're still digging our way out of it. In addition, the transportation package that was approved in 2015, half of that is slated to come out of the state general fund. And as we look at the current pandemic situation, we all know that there's a lot of priorities and pressure on that general fund. And so whether or not they will be able to meet that commitment to transportation is still a big question mark. So as we ask ourselves that very question of, do we need the county-wide millage and should it be renewed? I think that we can pretty firmly answer that yes, there is still a need for the county-wide millage. Those local dollars staying local have been critically important to continuing to improve the transportation systems throughout Washtenaw County. So again, working with the county board's road funding subcommittee, we explored a couple of different options and discussed and really landed that the plan that we had in place back in 2016 for the existing millage was a good one. So we started looking once again at a 4-year millage. So this would be for the years 2021 to 2024. We talked about potentially changing the funding level, but ultimately decided that the 1/2 mil was a levy that while there may be needs in excess of that it was an amount that most people were comfortable with, although it had decreased slightly due to Headley. So that is why not only is this millage renewal of the existing millage, it also is asking for restoration. So basically hitting that reset button and putting that millage back up to the full 1/2 mil. Again, the county board, or for the county residents, the non-motorized component continues to be an important aspect. So 20% would continue to go towards non-motorized projects. And again, by hitting that reset button, a 1/2 mil currently would be expected to raise approximately $8.9 million each year. Again, that would be for 4 years. And in April, the county board did place on the August 4th ballot renew and restore of the county road and non-motorized millage. So what does that look like? You saw this slide previously for the existing millage. If this millage was to be approved, the 1/2 mil again would generate $8.9 million each year. Of that, the Washtenaw County Road Commission on behalf of the townships would receive $4 million. Cities and villages collectively would receive approximately 3.1. And again, that 20% non-motorized Washtenaw County Parks would receive that approximately 1.8 million each year. And the Road Commission did, similarly to what we did in the past, put together a countywide plan for the 4-year period that includes over 218 miles of roadway with a price tag of roughly $18 million. And if you think back to the previous slide where we were talking about the Road Commission receiving approximately $4 million each year, clearly the math isn't quite there. So the Road Commission, if this was to be approved, fully expects to be putting in roughly $2 million in order to be able to make the statement that each community will get back the amount that was raised within that community in road work that would be performed. Cities and villages would be receiving approximately $3.1 million each year, and that does go back to the cities and villages based on the revenue that was collected within each community. So for example, the city of Ann Arbor, being our largest city, would receive roughly $2.4 million each year. The cities and villages do pick their own road and non-motorized projects, and that is an ongoing planning process for each one of them. Why would you like to share the non-motorized component?
Sure. When we look at the non-motorized funding provided by this millage, we break it down in 2 ways. I explained the border-to-border trail. 2/3 of the funding goes directly to the border-to-border trail and all the communities along the trail. We work with them in partnership to make the improvements that are a priority in those communities. In fact, kicking off this summer, we have a very significant project in Ypsilanti Township where we will be building to the county border at Wayne County at Rawsonville Road. So the border-to-border trail will finally reach a county border. So we have 10 projects planned for that. The other 1/3 of the millage goes to what we call our Connecting Communities program. We realize that the border-to-border trail does not touch all the communities in Washtenaw County. So we understand the importance of making sure the other communities have a chance to build locally important projects that they have in each individual community. These could be spurs that connect into the border-to-border trail, or these are locally important projects that connect population centers with a downtown commercial area or a school, a library, a local park. So we accept applications, and we've established criteria to fund these local projects as part of the millage spending. Another thing we're extremely proud of is the way that we've been able to leverage the funds that come in through this millage. Working with the County Road Commission, we are planning to leverage more than $13 million in outside funds with the money that comes in through the millage. In the first round of this millage funding, we were able to, the goal is to leverage $1 in private funds and $1 in grant funds for every dollar of the millage. And we met that goal with the first round, and we're hoping to do the same with this next round of funding. So this money is being leveraged, and more money is coming in from outside the county with every dollar that we bring in and put towards the trail projects. Next slide.
Thanks, Coy. So if you're interested in a little bit more information, we have on our website an interactive project map that shows a map of all the different projects, both non-motorized and road type projects. And if you hover over any of the projects, it'll give you a little bit more information about what that specific project is. We do also have detailed project lists for each of the communities, the non-motorized and at the county level. And we have a series of frequently asked questions and answers that are part of, that are also on that website. And here's some additional contact information for the Commission and for county parks, if you so desire. So with that, I will be more than happy to open it up for questions. And Emily Kaiser, our communication manager, is going to take over from here. She will facilitate the question and answer period.
Cheryl, so just as a reminder, if you're viewing the meeting from your computer, in order to ask a question, first make sure you click join audio, And then you can raise your hand by clicking the participants button at the bottom of your screen and then the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. As the meeting host, I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. We are happy to answer as many questions as possible. Please be respectful of each other's time. If your question is answered before you're called on, you can lower your hand by clicking the lower hand button or dialing *9. It does look like we have one hand raised at this point. This is Ken. Ken, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you if you want to ask your question.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Hey, thanks for having this today. It's great. I did have a question. Are there any plans to connect to the new end point of the Lakeland Trail that comes to 8 Mile and Lehman Road at the Washtenaw and Livingston County borders? I mean, there's a huge opportunity there to work with Northfield Township, Whitmore Lake Public Schools, and connect the system of non-motorized paths through Northfield south to Ann Arbor.
Yes, this is Coy Vaughn, Director of County Parks. We're absolutely planning to connect the Lakeland Trail in 2 locations. We won't be making a direct connection to that area at Whitmore Lake, but connecting obviously to the Lakeland Trail provides the connection to the border trail. So we're looking at one area in Stockbridge where we'll connect, and then the other area somewhere in the Pinckney area. We haven't decided the exact connection point yet. That's a study that's ongoing. But by connecting in 2 locations, we will be building a 44-mile loop that connects Livingston County to Washtenaw County and all the recreational lands that are in this area. Good question.
Okay.
And it looks like you also had another question in chat.
I did. Yeah, I mean, we just recently up in Northfield Township, you guys did about a mile stretch of our Main Street that was, you know, they ground down and then put new road surface down, but the road was in good condition. It was not in poor condition. And I'm curious as to how and where that decision's made and why it was done up there in Northfield. We have much greater needs in Northfield Township for roads other than that road there. It was replaced only 10 years ago and was in good shape.
Yeah, it's a great question, Ken. That was not funded with millage dollars. That was actually part of our federal program. Matt McDonnell is our Director of Engineering. Matt, do you want to answer Ken's question about Main Street?
So Main Street, this is Matt McDonnell. Main Street is another example where we're trying to keep our fair and good roads in good condition. So it's one of our asset management strategies, and that was a paving project that was part of the federal aid program.
Yeah, and the idea behind those, Ken, is to try to, it's a lot more cost efficient to try to, like Matt said, keep the good road good instead of waiting until it fails. As you mentioned, there are a lot of other roads in our county. I mean, Cheryl showed the chart that showed how many miles of roads in poor condition we have. It is it's a lot more expensive to bring a poor road to good condition. And there's also a lot of strings attached on those federal dollars. So if a road is in such bad condition, it's not eligible for some of those dollars. So road funding and our engineering team, you know, really tries to balance all of those different strings attached and pavement conditions and asset management to add millage dollars and everything else to try to make the best decision. It's just, we often get that question where the public thinks we fixed the wrong road, but there's really a lot more thought behind that.
Right, I understand that. And I know there's engineering costs that go into things like widening the road, but you know, when you see something like that, it's very hard to not ask the question, especially with our focus on non-motorized pathways, why a bike lane, and it hasn't been striped yet, but it doesn't look like the road was widened at all. And if it was widened a few feet just to put a bike lane in, could add a tremendous amount of safety for folks, especially since we see hundreds of bikes, well, probably thousands over the course of the summer, riding through there down to the Whitmore Lake Road area and down into Ann Arbor. So, you know, it's just hard to see that being done and not at that time having an extra few feet for a bike lane or path.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and this is Matt again. And ultimately, with those federal dollars, there are requirements and strings attached. If we were to widen it, it would have to go to like 6 feet on each side of the road. So that's a substantial cost, well beyond the scope of that project. Also, federal aid only applies to our federal aid system roads, so not every road is federal aid eligible. So I can certainly get into details, and you can give us a call on the road commission. I'd be happy to talk to you further.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
you
thanks,
being
Ken.
there. Yep.
Thank you. So, and I think that's a really good point, Ken, because, you know, federal dollars, as Matt and I both have said, have a lot of strings attached. And it takes a lot of time and money to jump through those hoops, and we are trained to do so and happy to do so. But that's one of the really big advantages of the millage dollars, is that we can spend that money a lot quicker here. And it, you know, you'd be taxes are levied in December, and then we're putting that directly into construction projects the next year. And that it just takes a lot more time to go through all of the federal funding planning to do that. So the millage is a really important funding source for road projects to try to help improve road conditions as quickly as we can. So it doesn't look like there's any other questions at this point. Oh, I do have a raised hand. Sorry, Lenore. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to unmute you and go ahead. Go ahead, Lenore.
Okay, so my question is for the non-motorized pass. Is there any expectation that townships or municipalities would have to contribute towards those in addition to the millage money?
Again, this is Coy Vaughn, Director of County Parks. There's a requirement that there be a local match, but obviously if a local community, a township, city, village is bringing some money to the table and leveraging additional funds from outside, like grant sources, we will give that extra consideration. But we know a lot of the townships we work with don't have the resources, so it is not a requirement of the program.
Okay.
Boy, is that through the Connecting Communities program?
Yes, that's through Connecting Communities.
Thank you. And so I guess it would have been helpful to actually have some of the plans presented today of the roads that you were going to do in the non-motorized. I might, if I missed that, maybe I did miss that, but it would have been helpful to see some of that information.
Yeah, Lenore, that's a great question. What I can do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to take over my screen sharing from Cheryl, and I can show you where we've got all the information. We were debating how much to include in here, how deep into the weeds to get, but we do have all that information out there for the public. So if you can see our screen now, I've got the Road Commission's website that Cheryl referenced. So on this website, there is a lot of information about the millage. We really try to make this a central hub of information. The Parks Department also has information on their website. So you can see we've got a summary here, 215 miles of road, 10 pathway projects, about $50 per year for a home that's valued at $100,000 tax value. If you keep scrolling, we've got this interactive map. And so here you can see, to your question, all of the different road segments and pathway projects that are planned and where they are at across the county. So for example, if you click on one, it'll tell you the year that would be planned, the type of improvement that it would be, and then the road segment itself. You can also, there's a little key here that pops over, so you can see the legend by the year and the color. There's so many projects that it's hard to pick which ones to feature in a presentation like this, but that's why we have this map here. If you would rather print a map, we do have a printer version. I'm sorry, it's here. You can click here and you can print a map of the projects if you'd like to print or see a PDF. And then if you're more of an Excel spreadsheet kind of person, which we all are at the Road Commission, we got a lot of engineers. So you can see we've got project plans for each of the types of road work. So you can go to each of you can click on these and see exactly what township, what segment of road, what type of road improvement would be included. And same for pathways and same for city and village projects. So we also have some FAQs on the website here as well. So we really try to put a lot of information out there because you're exactly right. Those types of things are exactly what people need to know of what segments would be fixed. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Let's see. Do we have any other questions out there? I don't see any hands raised. Let me check the chat. I don't see any other questions. One last call. If you're calling in from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9 if you'd like to ask a question. Or if you're joining from your computer, you can raise your hand virtually by clicking the participants button and then the raised hand button. Or you can always ask a question through the chat feature. Doesn't look like any other questions. Cheryl and Coy, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy days to join us today. And certainly if you do have any other questions, please let any of us know, or certainly visit our website, and hopefully the answer could be there as well. So thank you very much for coming today.
I second that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining, and we will be posting a recording of this meeting to the website shortly, to this webpage that I'm showing you right now. And then you're always welcome to give us a call or reach out to us if you have additional questions. We will be hosting, if you know somebody who couldn't join us today, we will be hosting another public meeting on Tuesday, July 14th at 6:30. And please help spread the word about that. And then the millage will be on the August 4th ballot. So thanks everybody. We hope you have a great afternoon.